Thanks for starting your Wednesday with us. We're going to begin this morning with the continued dangerous weather across the country. Today, the severe summer storm threat is shifting to the south and the Midwest. Millions of people are under extreme weather alerts as storms threaten to bring high winds and hail to mountain states like Colorado and Wyoming, while hot, humid weather hangs over the east. And heavy rains threaten to trigger more flash floods from Florida to Louisiana.
Savannah, it comes as those of us in the New York area are still drying out after record amounts of rain fell on Monday. 2 people were tragically killed in New Jersey when their car was swept away by floodwater below ground. Commuters capturing water rushing onto the subway platforms and even into the cars as the city saw the second highest amount of rainfall in a single hour ever recorded. Look at that vantage point through the car. Meteorologist Angie Lastman tracking it all for us, but we're going to begin with NBC News correspondent Shaquille Brewster. He's in Minneapolis this morning for us. Shaq, good morning. How's it looking there?
Good morning, guys. Well, you're seeing there's some light rain in Minneapolis right now as the system marches across the Midwest, bringing pockets of heavy rain, pockets of thunderstorms to states like Minnesota and Iowa. Overnight, you saw a lot of this wet weather down in Virginia, where we know there were some flash flood warnings, flash flood alerts in effect there as they dealt with some heavy rain. Of course, all of this coming after those really apocalyptic scenes in the tri-state area from Monday night, where you saw in New York City that commute completely snarled, the subway system completely overrun as that water just flooded in. You saw some roads turn into what looked like rivers and lakes. You saw rescue after rescue. We learned, unfortunately, that that rain in New Jersey did turn deadly when officials say that 2 people who were in a vehicle got swept away from that flood water, officials not able to get to them in time. And then I want you to look at this video from North Plainfield, New Jersey, where fire officials say a house completely exploded from a likely gas leak. Where this ties into the weather is you saw scenes of firefighters fighting that blaze with about 2 feet of water around that house. Officials say no one was injured, fortunately, because the family evacuated that home for higher ground hours before that house ended up exploding. So no injuries there, but you see those dramatic pictures. Of course, today this story will be the heat. You have about 70 million Americans facing some sort of heat advisory. That will be what many people out east experience. That heat that we were dealing with here in the Midwest yesterday, and humidity is now heading your way. So folks are bracing for that. We know there's some alerts and advisories in the Boston area as folks are advised to watch out for those cooling centers and do what they can to stay cool and avoid that heat as others deal with more flooding. And then, of course, out west, you have those fires. So a lot of extreme weather situations across the country that we're following this morning, guys.
Melting pot of weather chaos. Thank you, Shaq.
And on top of all that, there's fresh trouble in the tropics that could bring a new flood risk.
NBC meteorologist Angie Lastman joining us now, tracking that threat and everything else for us. There's a lot on the table. Angie, good morning.
So much, guys. Good morning to you. Yes, let's start with the tropics, and then we'll get into that heat. Here's what's happening right now. We've got kind of this area of disturbed weather, a low-pressure system that's trying to get its act together. Eventually, it's going to move out over portions of the Gulf of Mexico. We know the waters are warm there, so we likely will see this system develop, maybe getting a name here in the next couple of days. Has a 40% chance of that happening here right now. But what we're really going to be watching is the additional rainfall that's going to work across some of those areas along the Gulf Coast in the coming days. Today being one of those days, specifically anywhere from the Florida Panhandle to Louisiana is where we're looking at the best chance of some of that heavy rain. It's still going to be kind of disorganized, so these rain bands will be working in through the day today and even into tomorrow. You can see the central Gulf Coast is the bullseye for the heaviest of the rain and potentially that flash flooding. By the time we get through at least Friday, multiple inches of rain expected to fall across this region, anywhere from 6 to 8 inches in some localized spots. So we'll watch for the flooding concerns again across this region, at least until the end of our work week as this system works its way to the west, impacting folks along the Gulf Coast. And then on top of that, it's feeling like summer across a good chunk of the country, so much so that we've got some of these heat alerts that have been put up over the past 24 hours, much of those covering parts of the Northeast Northeast, New York, Syracuse, Dover, all included in that. And then a good chunk of parts of the South as well, from New Orleans up to Memphis, including Shreveport and Jackson, all included in these heat advisories. For now, we're expecting temperatures to head into those low 90s for a lot of folks across parts of the Great Lakes, even New York City ending up in the upper 90s. But take a look at what happens when you add in that humidity. We've got heat index values topping 100 in Dallas, in Little Rock. 109 is what we're expecting to feel like later this afternoon in Jackson, Charleston into the triple digits. New York City feeling like 96 degrees. Tomorrow, not much relief unless you live back into parts of the upper Midwest. We're still going to be into the triple digits for the feels like temperatures across parts of the Southeast. It'll actually be 100 degrees for the actual temperature in Little Rock tomorrow, 100 degrees for what it'll feel like in Birmingham, 103 for your heat index in Philadelphia. So really warm couple of days ahead. If you're looking for some relief in places like New York City, you're finally going to get it here on Friday. We'll see the system work through. It'll bring us a bit of that relief with temperatures just topping out into those mid 80s for the wrap up of the week. But then we head into the weekend even better, 83 degrees on Saturday and Sunday. Still quite warm, though, across the southern tier of the country well through our weekend, guys.
All right. Wow. A lot going on, but I'm happy that heat's breaking.
Yes.
It's been rough leaving
Just a
here.
couple of days to wait.
All right. Thanks, Andrew. You got it.
Weekend and almost there. Great together. Thank you, Angie. Now to Washington, where the crack between the Trump administration and congressional Republicans is widening over the DOJ's handling of the case of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. As NBC News Chief Justice and National Affairs correspondent Kelly O'Donnell explains, now the top Republican on Capitol Hill is demanding the Epstein files be released.
The MAGA movement's push for public disclosure of the Justice Department's files on notorious sex offender Jeffrey Epstein now includes a high-profile Trump ally.
I'm for transparency.
House Speaker Mike Johnson.
It's a very delicate subject, but we should put everything out there and let the people decide it.
A push for damage control from the president's own daughter-in-law, Lara Trump.
I do think that there needs to be more transparency on this, and I think that will happen.
Attorney General Pam Bondi tried to deflect Epstein questions.
Nothing about Epstein. I'm not going to talk about Epstein.
Reporters pressed her on new comments from President Trump, suggesting Bondi consider opening some files.
She's handled it very well, and it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release.
The president said today you would release credible files related to Mr. Epstein. Are you prepared to do that, and when would you do it?
Our memo speaks for itself, and we'll get back to you on anything else.
That DOJ memo said it found no incriminating client list, no credible evidence of blackmail, and therefore no further disclosure. That stunned some Trump supporters because she had said this in February when asked about a client list.
It's sitting on my desk right now to review.
Then her push to clarify.
My response was, it's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file along with the JFK, MLK files as well. That's what I meant by that.
The controversy lit a political wildfire in MAGA world.
Make some noise if you care about the Jeffrey Epstein scandal.
The president also spoke to reporters on his way back to Washington, asked why his MAGA supporters are so interested in the Epstein files. The president says he doesn't understand it. At the same time, he said that any credible information, the public should be able to have it.
Kelly, thank you.
Well, former National Security Advisor Mike Waltz spoke out for the first time about that whole Signalgate scandal. This was at a Senate confirmation hearing for his nomination to be U.S. ambassador to the UN.
So not surprisingly, Savannah Waltz facing intense questioning from Democrats on his role in the Signalgate or Signal Chat leak of sensitive military information that led him to leave his previous post back in March. Now, when confirmed and confronted about the incident by Democratic Senator Chris Coons, Waltz trying to downplay it. Take a listen.
We both know Signal is not a secure way to convey classified information. And I was hoping to hear from you that you had some sense of regret over sharing what was very sensitive, timely information about a military strike on a commercially available app that's not, as we both know, the appropriate way to share such critical information.
Again, Senator, I think where we have a fundamental disagreement is there was no classified information on that chat.
Well, for more on this, let's bring in NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Julie Sirkin. She joins us from Washington. Julie, good morning. So walk us through some of these key moments from this hearing yesterday.
Well, guys, remember, good morning to you both, first of all, but remember the post has been unfilled all this time. This is kind of the last position that President Trump has to fill to really round out his cabinet. And Mike Waltz was part of a panel with other nominees, which is why his hearing format was a little bit strange. It actually took more than an hour for Democrats to actually bring up the signal gate. It wasn't just Chris Coons. It was also Tim Kaine and other Democrats that just went back and forth with Waltz, continuing to press him on whether classified sensitive information was shared during that signal chat that Waltz accidentally added a reporter to back in the spring. That is the catalyst for which led the president to remove Waltz from this position and instead nominate him for UN ambassador. So most of the hearing did focus on those issues concerning that post, especially the U.S. approach to China, Israel, and, of course, how the UN handled its aid work around the world.
Julie, while we have you, in other news from the Hill this morning, Senate Republicans voting yesterday evening to advance a package of spending cuts that was proposed by President Trump. What cuts are in the package? What happens next?
Yeah, this is definitely not the end of the road. They had to basically go around this procedural movement to get this out of the committee that processes a rescissions package. If President Trump manages to sign this, if it passes the Senate and the House by the end of this week, it would be the first time that the president has signed a rescissions package, which essentially means that they are clawing back the money that the government already appropriated for programs like NPR and PBS, public broadcasting, for other World Health programs. This is definitely a big deal because it's the first time that this is happening in decades, since the 1990s, you guys. And it's not without controversy. Some Republicans did vote against this first step, causing the vice president to break a tie. I'm talking about Republicans like Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, Mitch McConnell. Ultimately, though, Collins did manage to get funds for PEPFAR, the HIV and AIDS program that has saved millions of lives around the world. Those funds have been excluded from this package, meaning they will not be clawed back, but still a long road ahead for this $9 billion in cuts.
Julie, also today, Department of Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy is expected to testify before the House. That's scheduled for later this morning. What do we expect there? What's this about, and anything else you're monitoring today?
Well, this is a general oversight hearing and also about the budget that Congress is appropriating for the Federal Aviation Administration, for the Department of Transportation. And really the focus is on the FAA, because Sean Duffy's testimony comes after a series of plane crashes around the world. But something that really led off this attention to the flight system, to our radar systems, how old they might be, is, of course, that plane crash, the tragic one that claimed the lives of more than 60 people earlier this year in D.C. when a Black Hawk helicopter collided with a commercial aircraft. And so this is something that Sean Duffy and the administration has been looking at, has been taken seriously. And according to my sources, he will tell the committee this morning that that money will be used to begin to overhaul this system and make traffic control safer. Of course, we've also seen near incidents at DCA and also at Newark Airport, among others, in the country, guys.
Yeah, critical conversation there, Julie. Thank you so much.
Well, now let's get to an update on the Minnesota lawmakers targeted by a gunman last month in what's been called a political assassination. A federal grand jury indicted 57-year-old Vance Belter yesterday on 6 charges. They are tied to the stalking and murder of former Minnesota House Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark, as well as the stalking and shooting of State Senator John Hoffman and his wife, and the attempted shooting of their daughter. The charges could carry the death penalty. Now, prosecutors also revealed a letter they say was found in Belter's car. It is addressed to FBI Director Kash Patel. In it, Belter allegedly confessed to the shootings and claimed that Minnesota Governor Tim Walz had instructed him to kill 2 U.S. senators. There is no evidence that Belter targeted either of Minnesota's U.S. senators, Amy Klobuchar or Tina Smith, and he has not yet entered a plea.
There were dramatic opening statements kicked off yesterday in the murder trial of a Colorado dentist accused of using poison to kill his wife of 23 years. Prosecutors allege that Dr. James Craig killed his wife Angela by mixing arsenic and cyanide into her protein shakes. With the trial now underway in a suburb of Denver, the defense claiming that while Craig may not have been the best husband, he's not a murderer.
In a Colorado courtroom, prosecutors accused Dr. James Craig of poisoning his wife Angela's protein shakes in 2023 and said a motive, while not necessary, was there.
It's a money problem with other women. Yes. In this case, it is.
Craig pleaded not guilty to first-degree murder and a slew of other charges. His defense acknowledging the financial woes and saying his wife, a mother of 6, contributed to them. Also revealing Craig's decades of extramarital relationships, but arguing that doesn't make someone guilty of murder.
You may not think he's a good husband, but that's not what you're here to decide. You're here to decide whether or not the prosecution has proven the elements.
Prosecutors pointed to a toxicology report that found acute cyanide, ingredients from over-the-counter eye drops, and arsenic in Angela's autopsy, with an affidavit laying out Craig's purchase of arsenic on Amazon and his online searches. How many grams of pure arsenic will kill a human? And is arsenic detectable in autopsy? The court document also alleging he searched YouTube around that time for top 5 undetectable poisons that show no signs of foul play and how to make poison.
How important do you think the digital evidence in this case is going to be?
The most important. It's going to come down to this narrative, which is told with the digital evidence, which is irrefutable.
Prosecutors say while Angela received hospital treatment over a 10-day stretch, Craig ordered cyanide to his office and then visited her.
He went in that room to murder.
The defense countering the evidence is all circumstantial in a case sure to spark strong emotions beyond Colorado.
So some more information here. The autopsy released by the coroner's office listed Angela's cause of death as acute cyanide poisoning with ingredients from over-the-counter eye drops, as well as subacute arsenic poisoning. Now, the defense did not deny in opening statements that he bought those poisons or that Craig researched them exhaustively, but is disputing how they ended up in Angela's body.
A lot of questions there. Well, we are learning more details this morning about the fatal shooting of a key executive from the longtime reality TV show American Idol, along with her husband, inside their Los Angeles home this week. A 22-year-old man has now been arrested in connection with the double homicide. NBC News correspondent Camila Burnell has the latest.
A welfare check leading police to a trail of blood. 3 law enforcement sources familiar with the investigation say officers sent to check on residents at this Los Angeles home found blood and then broke in through a glass door on Monday afternoon, discovering a man and a woman dead inside. NBC News confirms the victims are American Idol music supervisor Robin Kay and her husband Thomas DeLuca, both age 70. The couple found in separate rooms. Both appeared to have been shot in the upper body, according to the law enforcement sources, who say they found Kay in the home's pantry and her husband in the bathroom. Police were called to that same house last Thursday after reports of a prowler.
My renter saw somebody hopping the fence, but that was back on Thursday. She called 911, but we didn't hear anything since then.
Police now believe the murders took place that same day, but found no signs of forced entry at the time. The investigation later revealed the suspect entered the home through an unlocked door.
Our thanks to Camila for that report. Well, the victim's pool cleaner told our NBC Los Angeles station that burglaries have been happening more frequently in that neighborhood.
Very disconcerting.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.